If you're new to watching this show, I'd like to introduce one more time Dennis Tyrrell and myself, Faisal Qureshi. We do this show 4 nights a week, and the fundamental purpose of this show is to normalize the normal. There's so many crucial things for our physical and mental well-being which have been made taboo. Nobody talks about them. And I have no idea why people don't have the guts to talk. And people who take on these topics are sort of on the fringe. They're not really considered mainstream. They're considered, so here are two normal people having conversations about topics which are in everyone's head. So if this is the first time you're watching this, please go back to our timelines and you can watch a full series we've been doing for at least, God, I don't know how many weeks. Some amazing topics.
This is our 3rd week.
Yesterday, one of our regular friends, I don't know how to label her, Rafia, asked about foreplay and said, hey, we're going to take this up for tonight. Now, how crucial is foreplay? Endlessly, I hear women saying men don't spend time on foreplay. Men are in there for a ram, bam, wham, thank you, ma'am. Dennis and I are unique men. We are probably more emotional, more female-y than females. So I don't know where that comment's coming from, but we're going to open the subject on foreplay. How crucial is it? Is it really important for a marriage or a relationship? Is it crucial for sex itself? Dennis, up to you, man.
Yeah, thanks for that introduction, man. That's brilliant. And I just yeah, foreplay. I think one of the reasons that we don't talk about things, normalizing things that are normal, I think the reason that we don't, just to kind of tack onto that for a moment, is simply because we have, in society, cultures, religion, whatever it is, we have decided that certain topics are off limits. If we talk about certain topics, it's always with a chuckle or a laugh. So we've used it to get humor and so forth. And so instead of just talking about these subjects, in a way that is positive. So foreplay. Listen, I think foreplay changes as throughout throughout a relationship. Because I can tell you, do I think it's important? Let's just start with there. I think foreplay is important. However, I'm going to take the stance that foreplay that can start a long time. Go ahead.
I want to start another question. Let's first have your take and my take. What exactly is foreplay?
Well, for me, at 30 years into marriage, it's brushing my teeth.
Though you probably mean it in jest, but you know what? I'm gonna say yes to that, because I believe in any kind of intimate relationship, foreplay is 24/7. It is not intercourse.
Nope.
It is not the act of the intercourse, but foreplay is something you do all the time. Even brushing your teeth is foreplay. I agree with you. That is foreplay.
So it certainly can be. And yes, I did say that in jest. I believe that foreplay is something that takes place. It's the way that we treat each other. In many situations, it has nothing to do with sex at all. And in fact, it might not even end up in sex. So it's the way that we treat each other. And so, like yesterday, I was talking about, for men, and I say that this is really, the quickest way to make your wife want to have sex with you is to take and treat her heart well, connect with her heart, connect with her soul, connect with her on those levels, and you'll end up with amazing sex from somebody that you're connected with. And as far as foreplay techniques, I don't know what I'm going to say about that. If you're talking about a physical type of foreplay, I think it's important for two people to experiment and explore with each other and create the norm for you guys. There is no right or wrong in this. What I will say is that, before you start thinking about any type of foreplay, I'm going to just call it emotional foreplay, which is the way that we treat each other on a regular basis, the way that we treat each other, the way that we, communicate, the way that, we serve each other and take care of each other. So I do agree with you that foreplay is, it's a 24/7 thing. I mean, that's part of life. That's that dance. That's that romance. That's the romance part. That's that dance that I don't know how else to explain it. And that's not very technical, but it's the dance that we do with each other.
Right, and you know what? 100%. You know, on the button. Foreplay really is something. Everything that you do will eventually it leads to the actual act of sexual intercourse. But without that whole build-up, it's like wank. You know, that's all I say. I'm gonna tell you a little story. It's a bizarre story. And
Please,
it came back to my mind today because there was an article today, I was trying to look for it. Why does a dog stare at you? So there was research, and your dog stares at you because the dogs, eventually they realize that they look at you cute, and and if you look at them, they will get a treat. If they want to take a walk, they know they'll look at you a certain way, they'll stare at you, and so the dogs are training you by staring at you. However, the research said both dogs and humans, when they have locked in eye contact, they release sexual hormones. They release feel-good hormones. Now, this must be at least 30 years ago. With a group of friends, I walked into a coffee shop, and across the room, I see this lovely young lady, and I'm all of what, 26 years old probably? She's probably 20, 22, 23, 24. She's with a group of friends, and we make eye contact. And I fucking not, man. We sat there for at least 1 hour across the room, staring at each other non-stop. And people the whole restaurant started laughing at one point, that what the hell's going on? People with me were laughing, people with her were laughing. We did not break eye contact throughout the whole time we were there. And then quietly she walked her way. I never know who she was. I have no idea what this was about. But you know what? That was foreplay. That connection, that contact, nothing was said. I have no idea who she was. I don't even remember anymore what she looks like. I just remember the event.
Yeah.
And I remember the eyes. So that was foreplay. So everything that could lead to an actual intercourse event is foreplay. In a relationship, in a marriage, in a long-term relationship, everything you do, man, a conversation. Farhan just made this beautiful comment. Conversation is foreplay.
Absolutely.
Yes, the way you talk to each other is foreplay.
Yeah.
Foreplay is what releases those chemicals in your system which eventually want you to have that grand fireworks, that beautiful final connection, the reproductive connection of the animal inside us. The dance, you said beautiful, the mating dance.
That's it.
The birds do it, the animals do it, they spread their wings and they show their color. That is all foreplay, man. So
Absolutely.
why, I don't know why humans have confused it like, oh, I'm going to have to touch you there and we'll have to hugging and cuddling and kissing. No, that's not foreplay, man. That's the actual, sex has already started. That is not foreplay.
Yeah.
You're already locked in. No. Foreplay is hours and hours and hours before you actually physically lock in.
Yeah, and I really, really appreciate that and your comments on that. And this just takes me back to the comment made yesterday. When the comment got made about that sex is one of the most intimate acts, and it's essential. Sex is intimate, but that it's essential to a healthy relationship. And what I'm going to come out and say, sex is not essential. Foreplay is. So to me, in my world, foreplay is way more important than the actual act of sex, because you can take and connect. Hopefully it leads to sex, but if you have some challenges, foreplay is the ticket.
I'd like to suggest a reword. Sex is not the all essential. The quintessential element of a relationship is sexuality, not the actual act of sex. Sex dies, sex goes away. You can't always have sex.
Yes.
A woman could be pregnant, could be having a baby, you could be ill.
Right.
Sex in itself is not the quintessential. The quintessential is the sexuality, the chemistry, the connection, the spark, the magic that's between two people. Sexuality is quintessential, man.
So I totally agree, and this is why. So, like, one of the things that comes to my mind when you say that, and we talk about the dance and sexuality and sensuality and all of that, it makes me think of belly dancers. And if you think about that, I just think that is such an amazing metaphor for foreplay and that whole sexuality piece that is essential in a relationship. Like you said, I completely agree. Yeah, belly dancing is like the first thing that comes to my mind. I'm a very metaphorical type of person, and so that's what it is. But you think about it, it's the art of seduction. It's the art of seduction as opposed to physical touch. Physical touch is important, and it certainly is a part of it. But the seduction, and it's really interesting. I actually have a friend that this is somebody. So this is what's really interesting, and this is such an individual thing. A good friend of mine, several years ago, back when in her early 20s, up until about 30 years old, she was a bikini model. Down in Florida, bikini model, did all kinds of took a bunch of pictures on boats, boats in the water. And I was talking to her a few months ago, and she said something about she was taking a class. I'm like, what class? And she said it's the art of seduction. I'm like, what are you talking about? So she's physically beautiful person, absolutely beautiful. Somebody that most men would go, oh my gosh, like wow, what a sexy, sexual type of person. But in her mind, she was not sensual enough. She wanted to learn the art of sensuality and seduction. So over here in the United States, you can actually take classes on that. So I've never taken one myself, but when we talk about this kind of thing, people say, oh, well, why do you, when people ask me why I work out so much and I take pictures without my shirt, well, because that's part of my mating dance. That's one of the things April likes. So,
yeah.
It works for us.
And why ever not, man?
Sure.
Thank you for raising. You've raised 2 points I want to touch at. One, of course, why do you take those pictures? I mean, Bina loves me in a white shirt. I have a huge collection of white shirts. I buy bloody white shirt wherever. But you know what? She likes it.
Yeah.
Why else, man? And the other thing you said about your friend, the model, it's interesting. It doesn't matter what you look like, man. The looks are not as crucial as people think. You could be the hottest thing on earth. It's what you do with your heart.
Yeah.
It's what you do with whatever you've got, man. And every human being is hot.
Yeah. And
every human being is hot. But what's important is what you do with whatever you have. Whatever. You're fat, you're thin, you're dark, you're light, you're tall, you're short, whatever, man. You've got deformities, whatever it is. I mean, you could have physical impairments.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, man.
Yep.
It's what you do with what you got.
Absolutely.
That's what's going to create the spark. That's what's going to seduce. And you know what? Seduction, again, that is also foreplay. And you made a point about touching. By the time you've actually touched, 70% sex is done.
Yep.
30% is the physical part. 70% is the build-up, the tension. It is the foreplay which leads you to that moment when you just erupt and you just go for it.
Yeah.
And if it's if you haven't put that 70%, then you're wasting your life for 30%, man.
I completely agree, and it's simply just a matter of, I think we need to think about it like the physical part. If that happens, the physical part is going to actually be the shortest part of the entire experience.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't, it's just you're totally correct. So what the foreplay does in my book, what we're talking about is we're priming the mind. We're priming the mind. We're priming the brain. Because that's where fun, that's where pleasure, that's where everything comes from, is the brain. So we prime the brain, and then the body follows, provided that the body is capable of following, barring any, physical, challenges or anything like that. So I completely agree. It's mainly about sensuality and sexuality. Thank you for bringing that up. And I will honestly say, April and I, it's funny because doing marriage counseling for people, having gone to a marriage counselor myself and quitting because I thought it was total bullshit.
Well, obviously, marriage counseling is not for you. You're too smart. Come on, you're smart. It's not for smart people.
Yes, I tell you, that was my problem. Every time I was in a therapist office, they hated me, truthfully, because I would I would always just play these, mental chess games with them and stuff. So, but yes, that mental part is so important because when you're able to connect with somebody at a mental level, the physical part just happens. And anybody I've ever spoken to that says, hey, like the best sex. Well, tell me about your best sex. When did you guys have the best sex experience together? And it always came when they had a really good day. They took care of each other. They felt happy, and this whole feeling of contentment, which ended up leading to a sexual encounter in the middle of the day. And of course, I'm not talking during work, but unless that's your job and whatever. So, absolutely, foreplay, 100% essential. I think it's more essential than the actual sex itself. I mean, you might as well take and enjoy all of everything leading up to the sex. And at the end of the day, it always comes down to the sexuality. And, with that being said, why don't we go ahead and take some comments?
Well, yeah, but before that, just one thing, like I always say, if you don't want to make this whole effort, if you don't want to make the effort about pleasing and winning and conquering and seducing and foreplaying the other person, just go buy a large mirror and wank yourself, man. You don't do it. Don't waste your life on somebody else. I want to start with this comment in the middle of the thing. Where did it go? Khushbu had made an interesting question I wanted to take on
this
in the
one?
middle. No, she said about something about marriage.
I'll come back to this one.
Yeah, here. Why husbands and wives, after long-term relationships, have lost that spark? They haven't lost that spark. We've done, I think, multiple shows about this, Khushbu. You might want to go back and find a couple. But let me repeat again. Let me say it again. They don't lose the spark. They just become lazy. They become complacent. They're taking not the other person for granted. They're taking the relationship for granted, and they're taking their own happiness for granted. Supposing I'm married to a person, and we've been married 10 years, and then you would say, oh, the magic has not died. If the magic has died between us, I'm sure it's making my wife unhappy, but it is also it's not bringing me any happiness. If she's not having a whoopee time, nor am I. Or maybe I'm doing it somewhere else, which is another problem. Let me tell you, cheating, though I don't call, we've had a show about this as well. In my dictionary, there's no such thing as cheating. But if you're hiding and having a relationship, that taxes you. The lying, the hiding, the secrets, it's not worth it. Make your own relationship, make your own marriage, make that, bring the magic there. Get kinky. We did a show about that day before yesterday. Get kinky. Try something new. Reconnect. Do old things again if you've been there long enough. But the only problem with long-term couples have is they become complacent, they become lazy, they become careless, and they're taking themselves for granted. Be selfish. Be happy. And if my happiness is having a whoopee time, well, have the whoopee time with the beautiful woman you married, or the lovely man you married. Put the effort in each other and do it, man. If you're not doing it, then get out of there. Get a divorce or whatever.
So Khushbu, so what I'm going to say to this is I agree that the spark doesn't really go away. I think it waxes and wanes, kind of like the moon, right? And what I'm going to just say is, as you're in a relationship longer, I think that the spark is still there. It just looks different. And so the spark is different in that, like when April and I were and she, I'm so glad she's not listening to this and she's at work because she hates it when I talk about this kind of stuff. But when we were first together, I think this is important to say. When we were first together, we were young, so we had that lust, we had that, oh, it's exciting, and all this stuff that was all this newness. Right? Well, then the newness, like with anything else, it fades. And so, like when she discovered that I had a few flat tires and some scratches on my exterior, and like we do with new cars, right? They're super cool until you scratch them. What I'm going to say is that what we had to what the quickest thing for couples to do as far as an advice piece is acknowledge that the spark is different. So the joke between April and I is like, I'll look at her and I'm like, hey, I'm going to go brush my teeth. Right? And that's but that's our little signal, right? And so that's what I'm saying is it looks different in that, it's just that as you go through phases in your life, what once turned you on might not turn you on anymore. And so it's just important to constantly be reevaluating and looking at that, and at least acknowledging when you can acknowledge that this happens. Like, hey, it's changed. That hey, as soon as you acknowledge something, now you have more options and choices of ways in which to handle, to create solutions. So I totally, like, the spark is there if you want it to be. You just have to sometimes look for it differently because it appears in different ways. Like, what turns me on about April now has nothing to do. When we were young, it was her body style and it was everything. Listen, April has an amazing body. She's had 2 children. She's almost 50 years old, same as me. And so what I find attractive now is discipline. She gets out there and she works really hard in the gym. It's commitment. It's commitment to her job. It's commitment to being a professional. So we just have to take and find ways. We must find ways to keep that spark going, and that has nothing at all to do with like saying, oh wow, something's new, so I need to like get a new toy or something, and that's fine too. But it's about recognizing it and looking for new reasons to fall in love with your partner.
Bro, it's just communicating. You got to communicate. You got to keep the doors open. You have to keep the channel open, and the spark never dies. I mean, as long as you communicate and say, hey, listen, I like this, I like this. As long as you're willing to do those little things, make little efforts, that's all it takes, man.
Add a few more steps to the dance. It's okay.
I want to add this here, Dennis. People have overcomplicated being happy. People have overcomplicated. It is really simple. It is really so simple. Just talk. Just say, listen, this is what I like. And she can say, well, I don't like this. I say, what do you like? And she said, I like this. I say, hey, we can do this together.
I'll tell you,
just fucking keep it simple, for God's sake.
Keep it simple and get back to the basics. I'll tell you, here's an interesting thing that happened I don't know, it's been at least a few weeks. April and we had an amazing day together. And everything was just really clicking and so forth. We came home and enjoyed some private time. And after the private time was over, like a little bit later, we were like sitting there and we were just like, man, that was terrible today. And so
yeah.
So what I'm saying is it's okay. Not everything has to be amazing. Like romantic comedies and stuff, they have ruined us into thinking that every time you kiss somebody, fireworks. Like, this isn't, like, my life is not, I didn't marry a Disney princess. So fireworks and sparks don't go off every single time.
Okay, one of the reasons, I mean, people who don't know us yet, Dennis and I have never met each other. He's sitting in, Arizona, and I'm sitting in Pakistan. And he was my NLP teacher. I was learning NLP. And what really has made us work together is we don't take ourselves seriously. We don't take ourselves seriously at all. We don't take life seriously. You know what? Maybe when you're 20, you take life seriously, even though we didn't do it even then. But definitely as you mature, the first thing you do is stop taking shit so seriously.
Right.
Stop taking your partner seriously. Stop taking yourself seriously. Relax, for God's sake. Bring in some honesty in your relationship.
Yeah.
Talk openly. Stop judging each other. Learn what she likes. Tell her what you like. Find common ground. Enjoy that beautiful togetherness. Maybe it's just taking a long walk what turns you on.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the smell of coffee. Maybe it's the smell of his perfume. Whatever, man. Keep it fucking simple.
Absolutely.
There's so much ego
agree.
going on here. There's so much bloody pride, and there's so much egoic mind, and come.
I'm gonna say, in working with young couples that are about to get married, they'll often ask, like, hey, what about, one of the big common things that people talk about is like, well, like, I'm nervous. You're nervous about what? Well, what do I do? Like, if I have to go to the bathroom. You go to the bathroom. Like, what? Like, well, but that's embarrassing. Wait a minute. You've lived your whole life going to the bathroom without it being embarrassing, and now you're going to be embarrassed with the one you love. the most. So listen, I'm not saying to go to the bathroom in front of each other. That's not what I'm saying at all. But this is about normalizing normal. Learn to laugh at each other. The same as April and I were like, man, that was really not good today. But what I will come out and say, I will just come out and say, you know what? If you have bad sex, guess what? You can do it again. It's like if you cook a terrible meal, that's all right. I'll probably eat again in a few hours. So it's not that big a deal. Let's stop taking and putting so much emphasis on one single encounter, and chill out with each other and ourselves.
Normalizing the normal, and I'm going to add here, man, we have to take important things seriously. We take the wrong things too seriously. The things we should take seriously, we bloody ignore them. And things which are okay, we take them seriously. Anyways, moving on.
Yeah,
moving right on. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, put that back.
I was just going to say, Kushbu, I totally understand that, and I have a very crude joke that I have said in the past about that I'm going to refrain from bringing up today. One of my challenges of myself of trying to do just a little bit better each day, so I'm not going to repeat that off-color crude joke. But I get what you're saying. Thank you. Okay, so foreplay is important because it starts. I totally agree. This is exactly right, and this is what we were talking about. It's about creating that connection, and that connection, the more that you practice it, like seriously, practice this, folks. When you have if you're in a relationship or you're new in a relationship, really practice these skills of being normal, normalizing normal. It is a skill because our societies, our cultures, our churches, our religions, all of this say this is right and this is wrong. In the context, like you're able to take and have your own home or your own bedroom space with each other, close the rest of the world out, and focus on each other. And that's truly where the amazing part of life comes in.
I want to acknowledge two people here. Asma here, she has become a regular viewer, so welcome, Asma.
Hey, Asma,
good to have you here regularly.
See you.
And we have Mr. Iqbal Ahmed, who's also become a regular viewer. So welcome, Iqbal. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And yes. So, okay, back to the comments. Where were we, man?
So I don't understand this one.
Oops, sorry.
That's okay.
Oops.
Eye contact. I don't know. If that's what works for you and eye-to-eye contact is great, then outstanding.
The moment you put the word compulsory, you've just made it too serious, man. Relax. There's no compulsory. There is no guidebook that you have to do this and this. Just do whatever gets you going.
Yeah, I completely agree. And
Rafia, really? You get a bloody shout out every day.
She's just an attention.
I wouldn't know what to do without you, love.
Asma, totally agree. Yeah, emotional foreplay. That's really where it's at. If you can really if you can connect on an emotional level, sex is just it will be amazing every single time. And if it's not the greatest sex you've ever had, you'll because you're connected, you'll be able to go, well, man, that wasn't very good. I guess we're gonna have to try a little harder next time. So
Absolutely.
That's the cool part. Good for you. Thank you. Rafia, this is interesting. The romance eventually fizzles out and the couple get bored. I don't know. Again, I think, to me, again, this is kind of back to what Kushbu was saying is just, I think that it comes down to looking at that the spark is going to appear different. There's times where I feel extremely connected with April because of whatever, and I don't want to have sex. It's just that's just not even on my mind.
Okay, I want to redefine a few things. When you say if there's no foreplay, I agree with this comment, but I'm going to change the common perception. Foreplay is the sexuality which I talked about. It's the sexual behavior. And I'm going to go as far as saying, when Dennis says that, we joked and I'm going to brush and wink, that whole jest, that the whole jovial thing, that whole humor thing going on, that is foreplay. That is the sexuality. Please, maybe we'll talk about more in another day. Understand the difference between sex and sexuality. Flirting is sexuality. Saying something nice to the other person is sexuality. That Stevie Wonder song, "Send her roses just because." If it's violin she wants, let them play. That is sexuality. That is foreplay. Send her roses just because. If it's violent she wants, let them play, man. That is sexuality. That is foreplay. That is seduction. That is romance. And if you keep doing that forever, when you grow old, you can't have sex, but you can still be nice. You can still be sexual. You can still hold hands. You can still cuddle. You can still say, you know what? May God give them health and life, and may they be happily together forever. You know what? 35 years, 40 years later, when they're 90, both of them, Dennis can still say, I'm going to brush my teeth and wink.
Right.
So the sexuality is still there, man.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, totally.
And that's what you guys need to focus on. So relax and understand what foreplay really is. And if you keep that interaction, that's the word. If you keep that interaction going, romance will never go away.
Totally agree. Kushbu, if he is important and hot. Listen, I completely agree. The way that people make you feel about you, it's like people ask me that all the time. Oh, like, what's the most attractive thing about your wife? You've been married forever. And my comment is the same. The most attractive thing, the most like amazing thing about my wife is the way she makes me feel about me. There it is.
Well, the most amazing thing about my wife is that she's married to me.
Okay, that's her greatest asset, right? That's her
lucky girl, man, lucky girl.
Hold the conversation, able to handle me. This is why I picked.
You're not just a handful. You're a mouthful, a handful. You're a truckful, girl.
Oh my goodness, Rafia, much love, my friend. That's brilliant, love it. This one, our friend Farhan. Yeah, religion not for smart people. People who have the ability to process nuance thought, hold two divergent views in their own place. Farhan, first of all, I gotta say, like, dude, you got a kick-ass mustache. I wish I could grow a stash like that. That's pretty badass. Second is, completely agree. It's funny, people say to me, oh, well, have you been in marriage counseling? And I'm like, I don't really want to answer that because that's part of the way I make my money. But I take a very back to the basics approach in that, like, let's simplify this. Let's not bring in all kinds of disorders and diagnosis into the conversation. Let's learn how to communicate. Let's learn, and the other thing, not just learn how to communicate, let's learn how to take and re-engage after we fight. Because we're gonna fight. So it's okay. So thank you for saying that. I really like that comment.
And I also want to acknowledge Farhan. He's also become a regular, so thank you, Farhan, mate.
Thank you,
Good
Farhan,
to have you
yeah.
here. And love your comments, man. Really.
So I do want to take
awesome.
this one. Here, oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go on. Go on.
So, Rafia, here's the thing. I should go and do something new. Here's what I'm going to say. And please, I'm going to come out and say it. So for anybody that follows me that hasn't seen my posts today and the message for today, it is that agreeing to participate in a threesome will not solve your marriage problems or your relationship challenges. So I'm just simply saying is what my point is in that.
It's a little personal something which we need to know. But
no,
what
I'm just
happened?
simply.
Is everything all right, man?
Listen, I'm way too lazy for a threesome. I'm just being honest. I'm way too lazy.
No,
I can hardly please myself, let alone two other people.
You too self-obsessed to have to deal with.
Okay. Touche.
Touche, man. I relate to that completely.
I was just trying to be a little bit nicer and more complimentary to myself.
Mind you, coming from me, that's not an insult. Coming from me, that's not an insult.
Rafia, as far as doing something new, listen, all I'm going to say to that is, as long as it's consensual, both parties fully 100% agree, nobody feels coerced or anything, and I will just say, I knew these people, and it worked out. What they were having some marital problems and stuff. They decided to try swinging. And that was like 15 years ago, and they're still like living that lifestyle. So it's not something, like, I don't understand it. It's not anything I want to be a part of. There's no judgment. It just, like, make sure before you try something new that, like, I'll just tell you, I've never tried to coerce April into having a threesome, but a lot of women get conversed into it.
And whatever new you try, if it doesn't work, it's not a reflection on your relationship. Please, don't say that, oh, we even tried this. And so what? Big deal, man. It's all right. Sorry. I'm going to
go ahead.
I'm going to go back to this one. Iqbal, magical words have also important role. Absolutely. Words are, oh, they don't have also important role. They're very important. Words can make or break a deal, man. What was cringeworthy? I don't remember what the cringeworthy was.
I don't know.
Okay. Osman made a lovely comment. I guess with age, rules of foreplay change too. In younger age, it's more physical, and more wise you become with age, you know it's more than that. Well, Osman, yes, agreed, but I'm going to add to it. With with age and experience and maturity, you learn new tricks. Because when you're really young, you think, oh, I'm going to touch her that way, it's going to work. Or, you know, that she thinks, I'm going to look, I'm going to bat my eyes at him, it's going to work. As you grow older, meet more people, have more experiences, you realize that there's so much more that you can do to get the ball rolling. And yes, you're right, I agree with you. With maturity, you have more tools, more tricks, man. That's it, more tricks of the trade.
Absolutely. And I think we just have a different perspective as well. I'll tell you, like, one of the things April will say to me that is just like extremely, she's like, when I know when she says to me, hey, thank you so much. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for giving me, like, making sure I had dinner tonight. It was a really rough day. And letting me vent to you. Thank you for just being my friend. I feel really connected with you. That's when I know I've hit a home run, and that has nothing to do with getting naked. That's how I know I hit a home run.
Getting naked is such a small part of a relationship, man. People are so confused.
I don't know why we put clothes on in the first place.
That's okay. You want to have a show on that? I agree with you.
We probably should. In my response area as a firefighter for many years, there was actually a nudist colony, and that, like, everybody there was without clothing. And it was, I'll just tell you, man, like, a lot of older people live there, and it was really disconcerting constantly going into this place, and like, people walking around naked wearing nothing but a colostomy bag. It was, like, really gross.
Oh, that's not nice. Okay, it's not. Kushbu said it's not about one person. It's a two-way traffic, and if the other person not putting effort, it doesn't. Yeah, well, if for an extended period, it's a one-way thing. Get out of there. That relationship is over. Okay, Asma. I believe more grateful in a relationship, more amazing it is. Mostly we forget that. Thank you very much. Brilliantly said. Thank you. Yes, gotta be thankful and grateful.
Yes, perfect. Oh, our friend Iqbal. How do you say this name? I want to make sure I get it right.
Iqbal.
Hey, thank you so much, Iqbal. Ego. Yeah, ego ruins marriages, jobs, like lives. Ego. Yeah, yep. No. That's a private conversation, Rafia. See, once again, you're proving too hard to handle. If ladies get bored, I'm not going to get that one.
Obviously, Rafia. Did you have any doubt? And hey, do you blame me? Just look. How can I not be self-obsessed? I mean, just look at this. Girl, really.
Bushra. Listen, that's it. That's it right there, Bushra. Thank you. Feeling desire.
Perfectly said.
You know, emotionally, spiritually, all of that. Yeah, absolutely. Because, our bodies change. You know, I think physical appearance gets a lot of attention and stuff. Our bodies change. I mean, I can assure you, I've got bumps and lumps and dimples and stuff in places I didn't have when I was 25. So it happens, and that stuff changes. So totally being desired physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Absolutely. Thank you so much for saying.
I think that's an absolutely perfect comment. And my story about the staring event 30 years ago, that's what it boiled down to. Being appreciated, being wanted by a complete stranger, physically, emotionally, and it was a very spiritual experience. It was a big enough experience for me to remember 30 years later as clearly as it happened yesterday. The only thing is I can't remember her face. Anyways, that's about that, I guess. Dennis, anything else?
I just want to say, like, at the end of the day, to just kind of summarize this, is remember, foreplay, that it has to do with sexuality. It can lead to sex. It doesn't have to. It just focus on ways to connect with each other. focus on ways to connect and to love each other more than you did yesterday. And it will only get better. That's what I have for you. Again, thank you so much, everybody, for contributing, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.
Quick comment. People take their relationships like a joke and they take themselves too seriously. Stop taking yourself seriously and start taking a relationship seriously. Relax on yourself, screw your ego, and take your relationship more seriously, give it more value, and understand starting new relationship. Listen, I've had breakups. I've had to restart, and let me tell you, when you restart a relationship, it's not good. Okay, I'm going to take a moment here. When you have a breakup, or Dennis, maybe put that pen that up for one of these days. What happens when you have a breakup? You end up with empty walls, no memories, because you spend 10 years with somebody and that relationship dies. You end up burning everything, destroying everything, throwing everything away because you don't want to remember that relationship, and you start again, and you with nothing left. So try to work on your relationships and try to make them work, because restarting is not always when later in your life you realize what a waste.
Absolutely.
Yes, for sure, I agree. And I have no idea what this is, but I want to say it because it looks like it's something nice about me. I don't know, whatever that is, I'll take it as a compliment. All right.
Asma, for tomorrow, what we're planning on talking about.
What do we have penned up, man? What do we have penned down for it?
Like we've been... One of the things we're going to cover is how to take and protect yourself online, because with these topics, I can just tell you, I'm getting a lot of messages, private messages from some of our regulars that they're kind of getting harassed and stalked online because they participate in these conversations. So, like, we're going to go into how to protect ourselves online, and FQ's really good at that. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to learning from FQ, because it's something I can always do better as well. So yeah, that's for tomorrow.
I wrote a couple of articles. The title for that article was "How to Cheat, How to Hide Your Affairs."
Okay. So go check that out. How to hide your affairs. Go check that out.
So tomorrow we'll talk about how to cheat and how to hide your affairs. How to protect yourself on the internet. Have a good night.